Frank Watson here with KaPOOF, featuring Tom Probasco, John Lowe, and Frank Watson. And we mostly just talk about stuff. So right now, John asked me how it was going, and it has been busy. My wife and I just moved, bought a house in Muncie, moved from Sycamore Reserve Senior Living, and now we reside in a 3-bedroom home with Barbara's daughter in residence with us, give us a hand in our old age and infirmities. And we have been busy. It's so much involved with a move. Fortunately, Barb's daughter is like an Energizer bunny. She just goes and goes and goes. She helps with her grandchildren in the daytime and then comes home and fixes dinner for us at night, and has been busy unpacking and shopping and putting stuff together, and she's just wonderful. So, but that's typical of Barb's kids. They're all hard workers and just pretty good folks to be with. So anyhow, we love our place, and Barb is starting to settle in. It was a big adjustment for her. Barbara has memory loss, and so trying to remember how to get from the bedroom to the bathroom to the kitchen to the living room and all of that without getting lost is a challenge. We had been at Sycamore for 4 years, and she pretty well had that down. Unfortunately, there were some things she was never going to get down, like she could go down the stairs and out the door and walk right past the office, not really realizing it was the office. And she did that a time or two. We were taking care of the little dog Gabby at the time, and she promised faithfully to take Gabby out and right back in. And Gabby headed for the office in Points Beyond, and I was watching, and she still got away from me. So it's a much better situation here in many ways. We're going to be putting up a fence in the backyard and finding ways to secure the doors going out to the street. Mostly I'm up and keeping an eye on her, or Carrie is, one of the two. But it's a challenge. Barbara's a very intelligent woman, but her memory doesn't allow her to remember the limitations of her bad memory.
Did this condition come on her by age, or was there an injury or illness of any kind? Did you know?
John, it's the diagnosis is vascular dementia.
Yeah.
And I think that there may be a genetic component.
Okay.
She had a cousin that had the same condition. I think her mother probably had the same condition. Strokes can contribute to it, but it's a loss of, and cardiovascular disease can contribute to it. And it's caused by lack of blood flow to the brain, causing the loss of brain tissue.
Did you know Merle here at the population had a stroke?
Yes. Is he still there?
We got a fire alarm there, it sounds like.
Probably somebody in the kitchen.
It's not my room, but of all the time that happened.
Is Merle still there, John?
He's recuperating, and he's not here. He's not back yet here. So sorry, I have to have it. You go ahead and talk if you can.
We can't hear it. I can't
You
hear
can't. Well, good. So you can't hear it at all. I have a fire going on real loud. And you can't hear it at all?
No.
You can hear me though.
Yes, we can hear you. We can't hear that.
Sorry. Real loud on my part. It's funny, it doesn't pick up on the mic.
Yeah.
But you go ahead.
Hey, Frank, what became of Gabby?
Gabby is with my sister and niece, her daughter. And
Sue? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I can hear the fire alarm now.
Now I hear that. Is that a thing at Sycamore Reserve you know about, Frank? Do they test them every now and then or something?
Yeah. And I just muted John, so.
Oh, yeah, then when it comes back, oh, I see, it didn't go off, you just muted, okay. Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, where were we?
Well, we're talking about vascular dementia. You know, Julia's dad, we may have talked about this. He started having, he had a heart attack. And that changed right after that heart attack happened. It changed his ability to speak was greatly reduced just overnight. And that started him down the road of some kind of dementia. He would have TIA, you know, what they sometimes call mini strokes.
Okay, hold on, Don. We're hearing that alarm now, so I'm going to mute you. Just wave to me when it stops. There we go. So, John, wave if you can hear us, John. Can you hear us? Okay. When that stops, when that fire alarm stops, wave at us. Okay. I guess he's got a. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll mute you again, and you can unmute when it stops. There we go. So, mastering the technology here, old guys on an adventure.
There you go. I think the alarm unmuted itself.
Well, what happens is it goes to ask to unmute, and then it's a little anyhow. Boy, that's taken a long time for me to get it shut down.
Yeah, that's quite a test. Huh.
Okay, John, I'm going to mute you again. John?
He can't hear. He's got his fingers in his ears.
I'm going to mute you again, and it will say there will be a request to unmute. Wait until it stops, that alarm stops to unmute it, okay? So we'll see how that works.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's so annoying, John. Would you like to John, would you like to stop this and come back in half an hour, or come back at 11?
I don't think he can.
You have to unmute before I can hear your answer. John, you have to unmute. Okay. I guess we'll proceed. Yeah, the vascular dementia. Yeah. The vascular dementia is to my understanding, is caused by a lack of blood flow to the brain. And this can be affected by genetics. It can be affected by diet and exercise.
Yeah, well, Julia's dad, nobody ever really firmly diagnosed it, but you could tell he had these TIAs, mini strokes, commonly known as, and that and he was not always. It never got so bad that you couldn't have a conversation with him, but sometimes those conversations were strange.
Yeah.
Like I could read a memoir that his brother wrote, and we would be discussing it while I read it. And then it would be supper time, and I'd be wheeling. His brother was Gordon, but he was dead. And I'd be wheeling him to supper, and he'd say, "Well, where is Gordon?" And I'd say, "Well, Dad, Gordon died." And then he'd go, "Oh, that's right." But he would remember all these details from Gordon's memoirs. So, it's kind of a mixed bag. You've probably seen a lot of that.
Yeah, it's a thing that has twists and turns to it. Oh
yeah.
Yay!
It must have. Although he's still muted, isn't he?
John, you have to unmute.
All right, there.
There we go.
There you go.
As I was saying, they may have had to send out the fire department. I don't know, but it stopped. Anyway, it stopped. So whatever.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So anyway, I hope you guys are able to go on and talk without too much interruption.
Yeah, we did some.
It was so loud that it was hurting my ears. I had to put.
Yeah, I could tell.
At my age, I have to be careful of all my senses.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Yeah.
I used to know a guy who was a sculptor, and he had a very sensitive hearing problem. And whenever they would bring in a sweeper in the shop we were at, well, it would hurt his ears terribly.
Yeah.
And so, what caused it was it was starting to beep almost again. What caused it, he was a warm-up band for the Beach Boys. And he was exposed to so much of the high frequency of the sound system that it really damaged his ears.
Yeah.
So
Beach Boys, yeah.
I suppose a lot of those electronic bands, using those high frequencies probably had a lot of problems with their hearing,
Yeah.
I've heard that to be the case, but anyway.
Yeah, you got to protect your hearing. That's for
sure. Along with other things.
Yeah, that's just one of many. One of many. Yeah.
So what were you guys talking about during that blast of interruption. Anything worth raising again, or?
Well, we were talking about how vascular dementia works,
Oh yeah, right.
and the causes of it, and it has to do with lack of blood flow to the brain, causing the loss of cognitive abilities due to brain shrinkage.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends upon the area. As I understand it, it depends upon the area of the brain that's affected. So it's a very different diagnosis from Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is a kind of a death sentence. It's a downward on a fairly steady progression, but vascular dementia is stair steps. It'll be plateaued, and then it'll drop, and then it'll plateau, and it may plateau right on out the door. You don't know when it's going to drop, and I think that part of what happens that makes the difference is the keeping the engagement of the brain as you're going along and you've experienced memory loss. If you don't have memory assistance, you get a progressive effect that's perhaps outside the primary loss that's caused by blood flow. My thought is that you can build the brain by engagement. Like some people suggest mental games or some sort of brain stimulation of one kind or another. But it's like if you work your arm, you get blood flow into the arm. Well, perhaps if you work your brain, you get blood flow to the brain. The problem is if you lack the information to the information that forms the building blocks of the cognitive creation of your reality, you lose if you're in a room by yourself. Your mind is going to wander, and it may wander into. It's got to go into the part of your brain that creates reality. It's got to go into your imagination, and from there, it depends on the what's available to it within your brain. But if you have a memory support so that you're getting outside input, you get you continue to work the part of the brain that deals with the common reality. And that I don't know if you can track that, but I've been doing memory support for Barbara since starting in about 2015. I've learned how to do that, but to do it requires that you be present, so that any time that she needs information, you give her the information. And if she wants it repeated, you repeat it. We learn by repetition, and I think that it stays the same, that if you need to repeat something, you repeat it, and eventually you get it. It's like remote, learning by repetition. There's a name for that.
She still learns. She still learns by repeating, like learning
Yeah.
new things. In other words, not just blank in the past, but can also relearn or learn new things.
Yes.
And remember those things. Yeah.
Yes, and like when we decided, the decision was made, when we were making the decision to buy a house and move to Muncie, I would discuss that with her at least 5 times a day, sometimes 10 or 15. And in the process, we would over a series of a couple of months, it was not a new idea. I would say, we're moving to Muncie, and she'd say, we're going to live with my granddaughter. No, we're going to live with your daughter, Carrie. Oh, Carrie. And she likes Carrie, so she would brighten up. So she was getting to the point where she could realize that there was a blank that had to be filled in. By the time that we moved, it was overwhelming to her, but she knew what we were doing. She knew that she was lost. She couldn't find her way around. A small 3-bedroom house, and it's step by step. Where am I? Whose room is this? Am I in my room? Where's the bathroom? Whose room is this across the hall? And that was several days of that, and there's still some of that. But now she can find her way from our bedroom, which is at the back of the house, to the kitchen and living room at the front of the house, and she's getting much more comfortable. It's not freaking her out so bad, and as long as I'm with her to give her the information that she needs quickly, she operates pretty well. She's brighter and more present in conversation than many people who don't suffer the loss to that particular part of the brain. Their brains, they may remember how to get to the bathroom, but they're not going to have that great a conversation once once you start talking. Barbara still, she was in high school. She was really good in physics. She's got a large cognitive reservoir that she's working from, and that makes a difference. So each person that experiences one of these things, is one of these diseases, or I guess you'd call it a disease. It's a condition. Each one is going to be affected a little differently, I think. And I review the information on a regular basis, and occasionally you'll get some new insights, a new study, or something that kind of fills in the blanks. And I'm operating on my own. A lot of what I'm doing is based on my own thoughts about how this works. But it's working well enough that we've been doing it since she was diagnosed in 2015, and for most of the time, it's just been me and her since then. Now we've got her daughter who is an everyday part of her her life, and that adds stimulation. If you have to spend all your time with just one person, you know, that person's limitations become your limitations. You know, I don't watch John Wayne movies. Barbara loves John Wayne movies. Barbara loves movies. I don't watch movies. I watch videos, and I'm interested now. She's interested in watching the near-death experience videos, and uh, there's a couple of teachers on religion and spirituality that she likes, but she doesn't get her dose of John Wayne. And with Carrie, she'll get John Wayne and musicals, and you know, she'll get more in the way of the of companionship and entertainment that is helpful to her. And this will be in the context is the the her trust level and her engagement level and her joy in life is greater with a very few people, beginning with her own children. That's where the connection is strong and positive. Now, it's the same, pretty much the same with me. And, you know, as her life partner, mate, husband, and we've been together and almost 50 years now. But she's got me with her, but she hasn't had the daily contact with any of her children. So daily contact with her daughter is huge. In addition, we'll have occasional contact with the great grandchildren. She loves babies. These things build memory. When you get, for instance, when you get adrenaline in conjunction with something to be remembered, we remember things better when they're accompanied by adrenaline. There are, for instance, you might have, if you had a car wreck in 1980, there's a whole lot of things about 1980 that you're not going to remember, but you probably remember that car wreck because there was adrenaline involved. It fixes things in your memory. And you might have danced in 1990, you might have danced 10 times with various people. But if one of them was a movie star that you absolutely adored, you're going to remember that dance with the movie star because of the adrenaline involved. You know, that's exciting. So adrenaline really works to fix memory. And I'm not sure that may have something to do with blood flow. I don't know. So those are the kind of factors that I'm dealing with and trying to think through. And I think what John said about protecting your senses and your abilities. You know,
Yeah.
if you lose your ability to hear, that cuts you off from the common reality.
That's right.
One of the ways that of the ways that I knew that Barbara was having trouble along about 2013, she lost her sense of smell, and that is a signifier of problems, and it's a high correlation with mortality. It's loss of sense of smell. Uh, uh, if you can't feel your feet, like our friend Don there at Sycamore has he drives, but he can't. He's got neuropathy in his feet. He he probably shouldn't be driving because well, maybe not. He's a smart guy. He manages. He's a pretty good driver for 90. Um, but he's got neuropathy in his feet, has trouble walking, and he really can't feel the brake pedal or the gas pedal. So
Does that have anything to do with diabetes with him, you know?
I don't think so.
Okay, just wondering.
It can. I know that
It often is.
I had a nephew who his bottom of his feet were numb, and he got out of a car. This happened to be in Florida, and the asphalt was very hot.
well,
And they were going swimming, and he puts his feet down on the hot asphalt. Well, from that, burned his feet terribly, and then later it turned into gangrene, and he had to have amputation. But
Uh,
it's due to diabetes.
yeah.
And of course, other ways you can get numb feet, but that often goes with it.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think the first thing in terms of aging well, I think it's incredibly important. Philosophically, Nietzsche addressed it when he said, "We must love our fate. We must learn to love our fate." If you love your life, you will participate in it and make the best of it that you can. Um, and that's also the path of the spiritual path. My path being Christian. Um, I love my life. It's a gift from the divine, from God, and I want to make the best of it I can. So I take care of myself, and even at the point where I was beginning to think, you know what, I'm not doing anything that really is engaging me, and there may be uh, more and better things in the next life, and really not wanting to continue uh, that strongly, losing some desire to go forward. Um, but that has changed some because with the change in our lives, I have a granddaughter, a daughter, a granddaughter, great granddaughters that are positively affected by my presence. To just to be a grandfather, a great grandfather, a grandfather, a great grandfather, a father, and to pay attention, to notice, and to affirm, and to share any memories or wisdom or those sorts of things, and to enjoy their presence and to be delighted by them. I've the children are absolutely delightful, and so is the granddaughter, and so is the daughter. These are and the granddaughter's husband. I I really relate to, what he's doing, trying to raise a family and do it well, and they're growing a garden, and to be there for him and say, gee, what you're doing is wonderful. He needs to hear that. He needs to know that someone sees and appreciates him. And if I can do nothing else, I can see and appreciate and say, I've lived a long time, and what I see you doing is really, really good. So this gives me a reason to be happily engaged in life, to love my fate. Given that I'm loving my fate, I go to those doctor's appointments. I take the medicine. I exercise. I watch what I eat. I do all those things that help to extend my life. So,
Also, Frank, also outside your family, what about others?
pardon?
What about others outside your family?
Well, you guys make a big difference.
Well, and other people you don't even realize, you're not aware of.
Well, yes, I'm finding that to be true.
Yeah.
The videos that Pat Baker and I do, I get feedback from that, and occasionally I'll hear from someone out of the blue that a couple of years ago I got a messenger, a Facebook messenger message from a gal named Vicky. She's now middle-aged, past middle-aged, probably grandmother age, although she doesn't have any children. She's a librarian and a therapist. A wonderful combination. And she was one of the children in a girls group home that I was a house parent in my first marriage. And her first comment to me, I hoped it was you. I just want you to know you saved my life. And I was stunned, absolutely stunned. And what had happened was that she was the only African American girl in a group of 7 girls in this group home, and she was struggling. She was a very bright young woman, and she was struggling with a little bit somewhat with the racial thing, but also just finding a place for her light to shine in a world that didn't expect light from her. And so she was placed in Central State Hospital